Player Will.
Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. We're going to be doing some free match Sephiroth team testing today, just for kicks to see how it turns out. Now, this game mode I don't think is apples to apples with Guild War in terms of results, because you can pick your initial placements. That I think that's too much of a game changer to ever apply any results, because there's a lot that matters with spacing and turn order and movement, things of that nature. But I do think this is still a fun game mode nonetheless, that I think entertainment-wise, it leads to some cleaner fights because you have a little bit more control over your team. And so I am going to use a team today that is consisting of Volk, Kadaj, and Sephiroth. Just for kicks, I know there's many teams that Sephiroth can fit into from a meta perspective. It's typically Cloud and Jeume, but there are some mono fire variants. I don't love those, quite frankly. I know Volk is technically, I know this is 2 out of 3 fire units, but I don't think the fire cast is in a great spot at the moment to compete with Great Sword and other types of meta units. But for now, the goal of this team is that Sephiroth moves first. He's going to move between Volk and Kadaj, and he'll use his teammate buff. Kadaj will then move forward 1 square to Volk, who and Kadaj will apply his teammate buff to Volk. At that point, it'll be Volk's turn. He will only move 2 squares, because you'll see in a moment I have the bow tie equipped on him, because that's to ensure that he can get both of his buffs off. That is exceptionally important for Volk. Most other tanks are okay getting 1 off and being okay to do their job. Volk absolutely, under any circumstances, needs both buffs to really be optimal. And so he's going to move 2 squares. Sephiroth then, because of the spacing of this, likely will not be able to move forward ahead of Volk, because the way the topography of the map is here, that Sephiroth will kind of get stuck. Kadaj will reapply his buff to Sephiroth, and then Volk will move again. So that's the general outline of what I'm expecting this team movement to do. I can talk through a little bit later when we see it in practice why I've chosen to do that. This is a very important part of team building, more so than really anything, is the spacing, the turn order, the formation, things of that nature. And so this is the team I'm running with today. I'm actually going without a unit resistance card in the main slot. Part of that is because that's Volk's aura, is to give unit res to the party. So I'm kind of sacrificing that vision card, because you're kind of getting it from the aura, so I don't think it's a total loss. Obviously not ideal here that Kadaj has a magic scaling vision card in the primary slot, but as far as Katana goes, this is really the only agility option other than the demon, greater demon, which is also a magic scaling card. So I'm just kind of taking the attack hit, which is fine. He's still at 1700 attack, not the end of the world. And so yeah, I got pretty standard stuff here for, I think, for agility in the main slot. Sub slot, I'm using the Tetra vision card down here at the bottom, so that, just a little extra unit res for Sephiroth and Volk. And yeah, we're gonna roll the dice here, see what happens for some of this matchmaking. I know, oh, we got one right away. That is actually kind of rare. We're going against a character alone who I'm not familiar with, but that rank of 190 is among some of the highest I've ever seen in the game. So this is obviously a veteran. Very intrigued to see what this team is. If it's Bartz, Cloud, and Lucio, this is a lethal team. It's one that I've actually really been looking forward to, but not a great Guild War team at the top end, so I don't see it as much, but I love that MonoLight team. There's a lot to like between the 3 of them, and so we're seeing the teammate buffs come out from both of us here. I would imagine Kadaj doing exactly what I predicted next. He's going to move to Volk only 1 square forward, apply the buff, and get himself the haste here. Volk should go, thank you, before Kadaj. Kadaj sometimes lapses teammates with the haste, but that's not the case here. Nucio is going to be, I call him Nucio, New Lucio, going to be out in front to kind of lead the charge. I think Bart's, I'm curious to see if he's bow tied or not. And he's not. He moved 3 squares. So Volk is going to get the first buff off here. Move 2. Lucio might be in range here. This might come back to bite me. But you should see Kadaj move backward, which is what I want. I want Kadaj to kind of be a little more further back so he doesn't take as much of the chip damage, doesn't have as much opportunity to get dispelled all that early. This is Sephiroth's buff that he will not be able to move past Volk, because Volk is taking up that spot in the choke point. Very intentional. This is a good buff here for the water res and the fire res. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of water teams that likely could get dispelled, but Sephiroth in particular. Oh, Keen Blade is big here. That's probably going to hurt me, because I think Bart should be in range for Volk to come hit. I hope not. I don't think so with the bow tie now that I'm seeing it. No, this is hugely clutch because you need all of these seals and the defense and spirit pen down for Volk to be active to really do his job as intended. So, Cloud going to come out here with the multi-hit limit break. The chain res down, which is going to hurt me a lot with the slash change in a second here. At least I don't take a critical hit from the Bart's follow-up. That's pretty important. Kadaj at this point is likely going to use his next buff, which, again, this is exactly what I want to happen. I want to kind of turtle back here a little bit and just let them come forward. Iron Body Stance, I'll take it. I mean, he's probably out of buffs to use otherwise. Bart's going to use, I would imagine, the big AoE. Oh no, his Limit Break. This is going to hurt a lot. And probably has Kadaj in this too, but no, it doesn't. It just wipes out Volk, who will at least re-raise. Sephiroth, I don't even know if he's in range yet. He might be limit break range. Yeah, so he can at least limit break. Not going to really do much for this team, though. This light team is not super reliant on any kind of healing, and there really isn't a re-raise in it. So, the Dispel applied is certainly at least something, but that limit break doesn't do much against here. Kadaj coming out, dual calamity. That's the okay, all right, the double hit. Not a ton of damage. I think Volk is dead meat at this point, though. Cloud is going to come in here and just destroy him. 8,000 damage. Removes the buffs from Kadaj, which is a big deal. Unfortunately, Volk was not able to seal Cloud's Dispel removal ahead of time. Lucio going for another buff here. The spacing on this is maybe coming to backfire. I mean, I might have to think about how quickly I engage here. Blade Bits just absolutely takes out Kadaj, but he will re-raise. He will get another turn here. It's really going to come down to whether Seph can just nuke this team. And he might be able to. Sunder Sky does a lot of damage, brings him back to full. Bart's being out of the fold is very important. I'm still afraid of Cloud. Fortunately, take them out here. That was a very clutch free match win. You know what? It was a little dicey there because, it worked as intended with them holding back. I don't know if Volk can take all that much damage up front, though, but I guess end of the day, as long as he takes enough hits that Seph can still do the job, I think mission accomplished. So I'm actually not going to change anything at the moment. I am going to see, though, if another team comes in here with a different initial formation. Obviously, it could be totally different element, totally different team. I am curious to see if someone comes out with a water-oriented team, which is very likely. I imagine Jeume to be in a majority of these teams, but maybe not mono water. It could be mono greatsword. Oh, here we go. We got a Earth team. I would imagine MonoEarth. Putting out an ad. Hopefully we get some people to queue us up here rather quickly for free match. So this has to be, I would think, an Ashen Mont team that has Bradley, probably Halloween Lucio as well. This is 2P. Oh, and Dialdo. This is an old school Earth iteration. Okay, so this, flat out, likely not going to be very competitive, I don't think. Dialdo, I'm not going to speak too soon because Sephiroth's accuracy is kind of suspect against someone like 2P, depending upon how they've built this Earth team, because Earth does have some really good evade potential as an element, obviously. My turn rotation, though, is still working as intended. They did not do the initial placements, so I think I'm going to win rather handily. The initial placements are a game changer in this mode, just because you really do get to optimize your buff timing, and the affinity buffs, teammate affinity, you get buffs to your agility, dexterity, and luck by being closer to your teammates. And so the fact that they're initially spread out and will remain spread out means that I not only have like a turn order advantage from an X's and O's perspective, but just flat out like stat advantage because of the teammate affinity. So Sephiroth's going to come out here. Curse on Bradley, which really shouldn't matter a ton. Doesn't dispel courage or anything. It's max hits up, which he didn't have the courage active anyway. Okay. That terribly unsurprising. Obviously, just a matter of time, I think, at this point. If Bradley's not in the fight, Earth is significantly disadvantaged. 2P is a good unit, not that good, though, to solo carry on her own. But be surprised. We've seen some weird stuff here in War of the Divisions. So at least Dialdo's getting that second buff here. Sephiroth's at least in range. You know what? That's pretty good damage taken as far as I'm concerned. 5k on that diamond, dual inevitability, breaks his defense. You get that slash chain. I don't think this is going to kill Dialdo, though. I don't know what Dialdo's Pierce Res is off the top of my head. Yeah, barely enough. But that's okay. Gets the regen online. So, oh wow, and this is where you're seeing the teammate affinity really kicking in. Where I've lapped him at this point. That regardless of his agility, I even lapped 2P. That the agility is just too much to overcome. So she'll move forward. She'll likely do her AOE crush, and with the follow up attack, I would think there's one. Yep, there's two, and there's three. Okay, not a lot of damage on the follow up, and Kadash should hit her. He's very accurate. Sephiroth, maybe not so much, but Sephiroth still does have a guaranteed hit, so I'm not terribly worried about that. Kadash gets to go again and finish it straight up, chaining with himself. So that's not terribly unsurprising when you look at, again, the initial placements of that team, and then even just talking conceptually, Dialdo is a tougher unit to make work. Maybe it would have worked if Bradley didn't move out in front as quickly and Dialdo really did his job to tank a little bit quicker. And 2P is still a serviceable unit, but that's asking a little bit too much of her to kind of solo carry the DPS there. And obviously her evasion, unless you're min-maxing your Earth Evade to the highest degree, a lot of these 4th anniversary units have a much easier time hitting her. So we'll see what this next matchup brings. Hey, there we go. We actually got a Q here. This is Elpis. Again, another competitive rank. I know that name, and I can't remember what guild they're a part of, but I know I've crossed paths with them before. Is it Mako? Hold on a second. Let's see if I can find this. No, it's from Niflheim, I think. So maybe I have not seen them. This is an old school light team. This is going to be very interesting. So obviously you have your evasion angle with Starlight Elena. Addison, I've not seen her in quite some time, to be frank. I don't know what her magic damage looks like right now. She does have some good imperils, and sometimes that's all you need to do the damage you want to do. Cloud is the fastest, which is a little bit concerning to me. I think Starlight Elena really should be faster. This Elena is probably very slow if that's the case. Starts off with the haste TMR. Not the worst. I would be intrigued to see whether she gets the second buff off, which should be her evasion up, which I think she's going to desperately need versus this team. But there likely still is time. I don't think she'll be anywhere near Volk to attack again. So Starlight Elena should use her evade up buff, I would hope. Yeah, okay. So now my only concern is how far ahead does she get from Addison and Cloud? And we talk about spacing. This is one of those things where it gets you into trouble. If she moves too far ahead of those other two units, she's going to be very easily chained down by my team because you're not juggling hate, you're not trying to min-max damage values. They can just come at her with everything they have. But Cloud has his haste up line, which is very good here because now he and Elena should move a little more in tandem. Addison Rae is actually not that far behind, and if she has jamming thrust on the sub job, that's got enough range that she's still effectively in the field of play. So here comes Kadaj's own self buff now, and Elena's likely going to have, be in range for this. So this is decent damage. I mean, that's 97 faith unit on a 97 faith unit, so it is a little bit of higher magic damage taken there by Volk. This is my my Shadow Links, or what do you call it? The new Ketone, TMR. I like that for the reaction block. I like it for the AP down. We see a lot of Veritas TMR going on, so I like it for the AP management for Seph if he doesn't have the AP regen online. Kadaji to come in, can't hit yet though. So either the elevation or the spacing is not quite that Kadash can hit, but that's okay. He'll look at that turn quicker than normal because it's not active. This is the limit break coming in that's going to start these light slash change. Obviously bring my agility down. This is going to do a fair amount of damage to my team unless Volk can move forward to Cloud and do enough with the defense pen down, the Dispel Seal. If Volk has a 0% hit rate, he can't even hit Cloud. Wait a minute, guys. I at least get the re-raise here. This is gonna be down to the wire at the moment, because unless Sephiroth can come in here, hit both, and regen a fair amount of health. Whoa. Okay, wait a minute. So at least the guaranteed hit, but because it's not his diamond, he does not have a chance to regen his AP. This is going to be very clutch if it can remove the courage for them, which obviously Elena already was brought to courage, but Cloud, it missed him, but at least removed it. It one-shot Addison. I am shocked. So this team must be very high on the evade cards and maybe not so much on the AoE res in that regard. Volk still can't hit. I should probably do something to turn on a buff just so that he's not wasting turns like that. Whew. Could dodge by the skin of his teeth is still alive, which means he still has re-raise active, but Cloud goes down. So Starlight Ellen is going to kill Volk here for sure. But at least, oh, wait a minute, but single target. So Kadaj still has at least 2 hits he can take because he's not hit re-raise yet. So if Kadaj can finish off one or both of them here, this would be very strong. Oh my goodness. By the skin of my teeth, I won that. That was an exceptional fight. I did not expect that to unfurl the way it did. Obviously, some of that was spacing related and Kadaj not being able to take a turn there. Volk just doing absolutely nothing buff-wise for a couple turns. Sephiroth, did fine, but he had to use his guaranteed hit, so he couldn't regen his health. I am going to examine something here on Volk, though, where this is where I'm talking about, like, do I have something else that I can give him so that he's not standing there doing nothing in terms of a buff? And one of the things I need to look for, I need this to be a buff that will not supersede his first 2 buffs. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to Grimoire Keeper instead. And I'm going to turn off this buff. That one's already off. And Maddening Verse. I'm going to keep Archaic Healing on here. And the goal of this, should we encounter something like that again where he does not have a hit rate, he should use that heal ability instead, which obviously will help himself and help whoever is near him, which, as we're seeing in these fights, people typically are clumped up together. And so far, I will say I'm very happy I'm not taking as much single target damage as I thought I could, because I'm not using that unit res card. So I've sent out an SOS here to some of the people on Discord to see if I can get to queue with them, because obviously free match is a little longer to queue for, where not as much activity. That's honestly one of the reasons why I'm doing this video as opposed to Arena or Guild War, because I want to make sure I bring attention. Match can't be completed. I want to bring some attention to this game mode for honestly just how fun it is. It is very high quality play by and large. It looks like Ram9 is going to be joining me to potentially match. I'm queuing at the moment. We'll see if I actually get to queue with him. Sometimes the matchmaking can be kind of odd here, but fingers crossed. Oh, we finally got a match here. It's Crashmaster, right on. Okay, so Crashmaster is another Howl guildie in my own guild. I kind of put on an SOS to see if people could queue. And I'm not going to lie, I struggle against Crash in Guild War Mocking. There's just something about his teams that always gets me. Very intrigued to see if it happens here too. Okay, so we're going against kind of a top meta team. This is one that is just kind of pure power creep, where you put together Jeume, Cloud, and Seph and go for just the slash damage. And obviously there's no self-sustain between 2 out of those 3 units. I am very curious to see how this team stacks up against them. So he's going with his own initial placements at the back line there. Cloud is the fastest. That's not terribly unsurprising. Jeume typically is the fastest, but the vision card might change this a bit. So she buffs Cloud, who was their slot 1. Sephiroth will now use the full teammate buff. This is very smart initial positioning to apply those buffs to the other 2 of them. I am very intrigued to see who ends up frontlining here, because I think it'll be relatively even. And so my Sephiroth is now going to use his own self buff. He's moving kind of off to the side here. This is one of those things that where the enemy hate is, you get some weird movement occasionally. I'm curious to see the pathing they've chosen. If we recall, Jeume was slot 1, I think, based off the buff. I'm sorry, I got a little too in the details that I don't recall, but Sephiroth using his own self buff here. Volk hopefully gets his second one off here. This is the critical thing here. So at least has that second buff on. Kadaj will now use his own self buff, get the re-raise on. Sephiroth next should use the Ketone Timar when he moves. Cloud is still not in range, but has that haste active, so Cloud should act again pretty quickly. This will at least remove the haste from Cloud, so it won't do much from the curse perspective, because Cloud has no healing or re-raise, but the buff removal, 5k damage to a Cloud could be worse. It did critically hit. Very clutch preemptive hit there, because it dispelled Jeume before she landed her damage. Kadaj, again, still not in range. I'm okay with that, because I want Kadaj to really be like my vanguard unit to come in from the back. Not awful. You know, the lack of a unit res card hasn't really hurt me here so far. If this is the limit break, it's not. It's the sleeper sweep. You don't see that very often. That's on the sub job. Very interesting sub job ability. Puts my Kadaj to sleep here. That's going to hurt me a lot, but at least Volk here should be able to land a very critical seal dispel, defense pen down, re-raise removal seal, whole bunch of things here to all three of them. That Sephiroth, with any luck here, will come use the diamond, will regen, I think, all of his health. He does miss a little bit, not the end of the world. That looks to be a slightly evasive Sephiroth, but if only Kadaj was awake, he could put an end to him really quickly. I'm worried Jeume is going to kill Kadaji because you take extra damage, but I get the reflex from Seph. She does kill him, but at least should re-raise, because that was not the cross with her, so Kadaj will have an opportunity to still act. And he laps because of the haste, so at least gets the limit break off here, which will dispel Courage. Nothing is sealed yet, so far as I recall from No, I'm wrong. He got stuff sealed. He just got hit a second ago. Will, you're an idiot. But some decent enough damage. Sephiroth here hopefully can land the preemptive ability. He does land both. All attack res down. I'll take it. I have some good unit affinity here. They're both in the Volk aura, which is obviously very helpful still. I would imagine this is the large diamond ability. It's probably going to kill Kadaj. Volk might hang on by a thread. Nah, it takes him out too. It takes everyone. Oh my god. It takes everyone out. There's the re-raise. I had my own re-raise removed. This is unfortunately the end of the fight. This was touch and go. A lot of counter abilities here. That's the third and fourth time. So there we go with an actual like top meta fight. You can see where it kind of went to shit in a couple places. That was a pretty big sleep mid-fight to land. That sleeper sweep, I did not expect that. You don't see Sephiroth with that all that often from the sub-job perspective. But props to Crash. That was a great fight. Exactly the kind of test we wanted in free match. So we'll go for one more fight here. And you know what? This has actually been a pretty good showcase because you do have a nice blend of like, you know, MonoLight, two different versions of MonoLight, number one. But one being obviously an evasive team versus the other being more of like a brawl slash oriented team. We've had the meta, you know, 3-unit team just now. We've also had kind of like a more outdated Earth team, and we've seen the differences in what initial placements can do for you, where some of those teams that don't have them as compared to when they do, and just the trickle-down effects of all of that, of what it does, again, stat-wise, spacing-wise, turn order-wise, everything. I think I'm getting a match here. It's a Ram 9. Awesome. I really wanted him to be able to queue. We were trying to line this up to queue at the same time. So he's bringing A2. If I had to guess, because of that, this is probably the Mono Greatsword team in the most meta form of it. So it's probably A2, Cloud, and Jeume. So a different iteration. It's not? Okay. Okay. No Cloud here. This is very interesting to see from him. I did not expect this at all. You don't typically see Cloud dropped out of that team. But I'm not going to doubt Ram. Never have. Never will. And so here comes Jeume moving first, which I typically find to be the case. She tends to be one of the fastest. Applies the wide guard res to both of them, which is very important, but Sephiroth can dispel the wide guard res. So that's Sephiroth. So it's A2 is that slot 1 unit, so she technically has the hate at this time, so Sephiroth moves to buff her. This is a good opening rotation, and Ram is clearly going for kind of the same idea that I have in terms of staying in that little pocket area and turtling a little bit to start that fight. And I am intrigued to see here now, because we're so far away from each other, does anything weird start happening with a pathing perspective and a buff perspective? Sometimes if you hang back too long and you don't have the right kind of buffs, you start moving like cats and you start going all over the place. Maybe you start repeating buffs that you didn't anticipate. Sephiroth all of a sudden going off to the left here. Who knows where he's going to end up? I would imagine his Seph is going to move toward those two other... It doesn't. It goes down the side of the map. So again, chaos theory. Anything's possible here. This is where it does kind of hurt you sometimes to get these units without a dedicated source of starting hate. At least for me. At least of Volk to determine where they go. I think all in all, it's still going to end up converging in the middle. It's really just the timing that matters, because that enemy Sephiroth now, it's not getting the agility, affinity. He may not be there in time to chain. Okay, this is a crucial limit break on Jeume. He might have his Jeume at 30 faith, though, so Curse may not apply here. It did. Okay, thankfully it did. We've been playing those games with a 30 faith Jeume and Trust Stones, and it drastically reduces her chance of getting cursed. Barely any damage there for either of them. Again, ice unit on the fire unit's not terribly surprising. Kadaj still being a patient like kid waiting at the dinner table for his turn to participate. I don't hate it. He's got haste. He gets his turn fast enough. I at least get a couple things there. The defense pen down is the biggest one. I really wish he got Jeume in that, though, so that he could dispel or he could seal her dispel capability. Same with Sephiroth. Sephiroth has dispel on hit, so unless Volk hits one of them first, you lose a big part of his utility. This is a great limit break, though. This is going to remove both the courage and the re-raise if it lands. It does. That is enormous. Obviously, get all those damage debuffs as well. I would imagine she's going to use her giant diamond now. I think she can hit all of them with it, but will not regenerate any health from it, which is very important. My own Seph gets a chance to move now. I would imagine he also uses his diamond. Hopefully, he can heal back some of the damage. It is, so he will get a fair amount back, takes out the Jeume. Down she goes with the courage being removed, without any heal back being applied. I think Volk still has a fair amount of hate here to play with. Although it did get dispelled, so it's probably on the last legs. That's where the bow tie kind of comes in clutch. At least still gets the barrier seal there. I don't think it matters at this point, because I think all the blows have been exchanged. That would be, hanging on by a thread from the Kadaj. I'm going to be really interested to see what damage Sephiroth comes out with here. He's likely going to use his own heal back or the limit break, quite honestly. His Sephiroth still has Curse online, which would be devastating right now, versus my own Sephiroth, who does have the heal back capability, and Volk, who has a heal back. I don't recall if Volk has used it yet, though. Takes out both. Oh, and the re-raise is not going to proc because it's curse applied. What the actual hell? Oh my god, that is the most clutch limit break ever. Oh my god, Volk is likely just going to kill A2 here. And that's 126 damage. And there's no chance anything happens. Sephiroth's going to come in here and just blow Volk a kiss and kill him. And that's the end of the fight. What an... Oh, we still have re-raised. No, it doesn't. He's cursed. What an actual crazy end of the fight. Very, very happy with the results of that. You see just how devastating that limit break can be when used properly. It doesn't always get applied perfectly, but man, you could not ask for a better application than that. So that's everything I wanted to go over. Talk about a climax and finale to cap things off. Even though I lost, that still counts as a Sephiroth showcase in my book, but that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you had some fun observing the free match capabilities, but until next time, I'll see y'all soon.